is financial information. Is Financial Information Month in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. Financial empowerment through education. If you don't know what that is, let me tell you all about it. Learn to spend wisely. Invest to grow your money. Business stability. Step up financially. Heavily regions economy. Work to financial security. Prosperity for all of we. FIM is for you and me. FIM is for everybody. So tell your friends and your whole family. Financial empowerment through education. Build yourself and the entire vision. Learn to spend wisely. Invest to grow your money. Business stability. Step up financially. Financial Information Month. Financial empowerment through education. It's Financial Information Month.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 2020 edition of the Financial Information Month Online Business Symposium. My name is Zanella Claxton, and I am currently the Principal Education Officer at the Department of Education on NEVIS. About 5 years ago, my partnership with Financial Information Month and ECCB started. And over the years, I have coordinated several FIM events and activities on NEVIS, including radio quizzes, youth activities, and of course, some of the symposium activities as well. This evening, it is my pleasure to serve as moderator of the 2020 FIM Online Business Symposium under the theme, Building Financial Resilience in a COVID-19 Environment. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected all of us, not just locally, but of course regionally and globally. And the impact has ranged from persons who have been diagnosed with the virus to persons who have had job loss and other financial constraints as a result of the pandemic. Even though we've experienced several challenges, we have had opportunities to grow, to learn, and to develop as well. And this evening, through this business symposium, we'll explore some of the topics which the Financial Information Month Committee have selected for us to further speak and talk about during this time. Financial Information Month focuses on relevant topics, themes, trends, and issues happening worldwide. And this year's sub-theme is Building Resilience in a COVID-19 Experience. For this evening's symposium, I have three very special and important guests with me, and I would allow them to introduce themselves, starting with, of course, our first presenter and speaker.
Good evening to the entire Currency Union. My name is Trevor Blake. I'm the Managing Director of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange. Of course, the ECSE has been a long-standing partner with the Central Bank and the other partners in the Financial Information Month. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Rodney Brown of eCaribbean Limited, a web solutions provider, one of the largest in the ECCU territory. As well as Trevor, I've been engaged with the ECCB over the past decade, various capacities. So I'm pleased to be here this evening to present on the FIM Symposium.
My name is Chad Allen, Country Manager, RBC Royal Bank, St. Kitts and Nevis. It's my pleasure to be here as well to share with FIM. Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. And so this evening's activity will take the form of prepared presentations, followed by questions and answers from our viewing audience. Our first presenter this evening will be Mr. Trevor E. Blake. And Mr. Blake is the Managing Director of the ECSE, as he has told us, and the Eastern Caribbean Securities Depository Limited, a group he headed since January 2005. Mr. Blake has been associated with the ECSE from inception, having served as a member of the first board of directors of the ECSE and its subsidiaries, and as company secretary. Prior to joining the ECSE group, Mr. Blake served as director of the Financial and Enterprise Development Department of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, where he had direct responsibility for implementation of the bank's money and capital market development program. His other areas of focus included fostering the development of private enterprise. In this capacity, Mr. Blake was one of the driving forces behind the Caribbean Corporate Governance Forum, a pan-Caribbean grouping established to promote high standards of governance in the region's private and public sectors. He served as joint convener of the forum and its technical working group, which has formulated a set of corporate governance principles for the region. Mr. Blake is a member of the Executive Committee of the Association of Central Securities Depositories of the Americas and has served on the CARICOM Special Team on Investments, the Regional Investment Promotion Steering Committee, and the University of the West Indies Investment Advisory Committee. Mr. Blake holds an MBA Financial Studies from the University of Nottingham. And this evening, Mr. Blake will be presenting on the topic, Living Through Rainy Days, How to Manage Your Money in Challenging Times. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Mr. Trevor Blake.
Good evening again, and thank you, Madam Moderator. Good evening again, and thank you, Madam Moderator, for that quite extensive introduction. It's, as I said, a pleasure for me to be here this evening. It has been a while since I've been involved in this symposium, but I'm happy to be back as a presenter in this series. My topic this evening, or the topic that was given to me, I should say, is Living Through Rainy Days, How to Manage Your Money in Challenging Times. And I've been asked to look at how to plan and prepare for financial challenges, and that is obviously before the crisis presents itself, and how to manage your available resources, creating priority spending plans and budgets, etc., and how to deal with debt and creditors in the pandemic. I will firstly look at what money management is. Well, money management essentially is the process of organizing one's finances, process of budgeting, savings, investing, and spending. And you would note spending come last in the things that you have to do to manage your money effectively. So the process of budgeting, what do we do in order to budget? So firstly, to start off with, in terms of budgeting, you have to first determine your priorities. What do you want? What are your goals? How are you going to organize yourselves to achieve those priorities? You look at your income. What is my income? Yeah, what is my income? Look at all your sources of income, pull them together, so that you know exactly what you have available to you to spend. Then you have to look at your expenses. What am I spending my monies on? What are these things that are taking up my resources? How am I spending my money? And you have to categorize your income in terms of your fixed categorize the expenditures in terms of your fixed expenses. What are the things that I must spend on? What are the things that are fixed? Your mortgage, your rents, your loan payments, and things like that. Look at those things and categorize them as fixed expenses, those that you have to meet in any period. And then you look at the other areas of expenditure, your discretionary expenses. How am I spending the remainder of my money? If at the end of a period, a month, a week, whatever I have $100, my fixed expenses are $60. What happens to that other $40? What am I doing with that $40? How am I spending it? How much of it is discretionary? How much of it is necessary? How much of it is spent on things that I could do without? How much of it should I be directing to more important processes? And then you have to make a plan. And having made the plan, you need to stick to it. It is important, as the organizers have alluded to, for the entire family to be involved in this. Everybody who's involved in the household should be involved in the budgeting. And I know sometimes we don't like to involve our kids in money matters. Sometimes we want to shield them from these things. But it is important we bring everybody together, at least everybody who's spending any of the family's resources, or anybody who's able to make a claim on those resources. It's important to have that discussion with your kids so that they know what they could reasonably ask for. They know what is just outside of the means of the family budget. It's important that they are involved in the process and they know exactly what these expenses are and how much income is available to meet these expenses. In your budgeting, you have to prepare for emergencies. Things are going to come up. From time to time, you will need to make fairly large expenditures that you may not have anticipated. Someone may get sick, and even if you do have insurance, sometimes the expenses associated with that illness could exceed what your insurance would cover. So you have to make allowances for these things. Your car might need a tire or a battery, something that you didn't plan for. So these types of emergencies you have to build in terms of your budget. And you have to be disciplined about your expenditures. Once you set up that budget, it's important that you stick to it and you're building the discipline to ensure that that budget could be maintained. If we were to go on now to savings, which is the first thing the second item in terms of your money management. You have to pay yourself first. Sometimes we get into the habit of spending, and then what is left back, we try to save. That is not a very realistic way of setting about savings. I think you have to determine upfront some goals, and these goals have to be realistic. A good rule of thumb is about 10 to 15% of your income should be saved. So if you make $100 a month, you should try to save at least 10% of that. $15% is even better. But try at least to get to 10% of your income. And you should do that up front. Don't wait until you've spent on everything else to save. Save first, and then you undertake the other expenditures. As the saying goes, you pay yourself first. You need to save to have a good cushion to protect you in the rainy day. So a rule of thumb is about 4 to 6 months of expenses. You'd want to have a cushion that could keep you going, say, in over 4 or 6 months if your income is in any way affected. For example, those persons who are in the tourism sector right now in this pandemic, for some, the incomes may have been totally dried up. If you're in a taxi driver, tour operator, and things like that, tourists aren't coming. Our borders are closed, so your income would be completely eliminated if you are in those sectors. So you would have needed to have some cushion to take you through these rainy days. And 4 to 6 months of expenses is what is normal, although in this current pandemic, we see our borders have been closed for more than 6 months now. So even if you have 4 to 6 months of expenses, that would not have been enough to keep you going. So while we have these rules of thumb, you want to be able to save as much as you could so that you could be prepared for any eventuality. Again, in savings, don't think that you could save in a current account or you save in cash. Get a bank account, a bank or credit union account. Make sure your savings is placed in an interest-bearing savings account or in a certificate deposit, a fixed deposit, something like that, where it could be maintained safely and the value reasonably well maintained. Of course, if we put our monies in accounts that don't give us more than the rate of inflation, we could have what you call this savings happening. But in the normal course of things, and at the levels of inflation that we face in this currency union, putting your funds in an interest-bearing bank account where the central bank mandates that they pay you at least 2%, you should have a reasonable cushion against inflation. So important that you save regularly, you save every single pay period, and you save between 10 or 15% of your income. You build up to about 4 to 6 months of expenses and continue building. Once you get there, the idea is not to start spending willy-nilly. The idea is to move on to something else, a higher order level of savings. And I posit you should be looking at investment at this time. So having saved and you have your cushion that could take you through the rainy day, you need to start investing in order to create wealth for you and your family. And the idea here is to put your money to work for you. You've worked for your money, then use that money now to work for you, so you have some passive income coming in over time. And investing runs the gamut from things like real estate, and on the other hand, you have financial assets. I would recommend that strongly that you look at the options that are available on the ECSE for your investment purposes. Check out our website, www.ecseonline.com. Check out our website, see what is available. We have on the ECSE some 145, 146 different instruments that are available for you to invest in. So contact your broker-dealer, talk to them about what you're seeking to achieve, what your needs are, what your investment objectives are, what your investment horizon is, what is your level of risk, the level of risk that you are able to take, and work with them to build an investment strategy so that you could start creating wealth for yourself and for your family. Let's move on to spending. And that is extremely important because this is where things go wrong. But this is the thing you have more control over than any other element of the money management process, your spending. You have to be prudent. You have to review all of your expenditures. Look at everything you spend money on and see where can I reduce, where can I minimize this, especially on the discretionary spending, so that you have more funds available for you to look at savings and investing. So having covered your necessaries, things that you must do, your rents or mortgages, your car payments, all the other loan payments, etc., look at how could you reduce the discretionary spending. And those persons are current, well, all of us in these challenging economic times have to look carefully on where we spend our monies. Look at what we do with our money. Look at how we could minimize the discretionary spending, how we could spend more smartly. For example, making the right choices when we go to the groceries. We must buy food, but look at the things that we are buying. Look at finding ways of being more economical and trying to keep more of our monies in our pockets rather than spending it. Then we look at our debt. And again, we have to be both prudent and conservative. We have to review our existing debt, look at everything, look and see how we could reduce our levels of debt and our level of debt servicing. Because the more money you spend on debt servicing, the less you have to save. Now, debt is important, and I don't want anybody to get me wrong. It's important sometimes to incur debt so that you could acquire certain things. I mean, most of us would never be able to save to buy a house. We have to get a mortgage to acquire a house. So it's important to have debt. But you have to use debt effectively. So you use it to acquire assets that you could benefit from currently and in the future. So not because your credit union or your bank may have a promotion on and say, oh, come, we will reduce the interest rate. If you come now, you don't have to put down 10% as you would normally would. We've reduced the down payment to 0. I mean, it's good for the bank. Is it good for you? Must you incur that debt? What are you going to do with the monies that you borrow? Is it something that's going to be of benefit to you? Is it something that's going to be creating an asset for you that is beneficial in the long run? So look at these things very, very carefully, especially, and bankers like Chad like to throw up these promotions, especially as we come up to Christmas, and everybody, they want to grab as much of your money as they could, so they throw these sweeteners so that you could come in and incur debt. But be very judicious as you incur debt. Incur debt for the right reasons, not because there's a promotion going on. In these COVID times, it's important that you look at your debt situation. If your income has been affected, you may not be able to service the debt that you were servicing when things were good. So you have to look at your debt carefully again, to look at consolidating. Look at how you could reduce the most expensive debt. For example, your credit card debt. That the rates there, for the want of a better word, is well, I probably shouldn't use that word. But the rates on credit card debt, I mean, I try never to pay credit card interest. I try not to spend more than I could repay at the end of the month so that I don't have to pay that credit card interest. I prefer to take a loan to repay the credit card debt because the interest on the loan is a lot lower than what you're going to pay on credit card. So credit card is something you should look out for. It's easy, you go out and spend, and once it's within your limit, it's going to be approved, but you'll be incurring debt and debt and debt. And the banks are smart again. The banks will increase your limit when they see you get up to they increase your limit, and they encourage you to spend more. It's important that you be smart as well. They're trying to get your money. You should be trying to see how you could get your own money, how you could save more of your money, so you give less to the bank and more to yourself. Importantly, especially in these COVID times, when you are faced with a situation where you may not be able to meet your debt payments, talk to your bankers. Don't just default. Go to your bank, talk to them, lay out your whole financial situation, look at all the debt you have, all the hire purchase things and everything that you do have. Talk to your bank and see if you're able to consolidate that into one single payment that you could pay to your bankers. Explore the moratoria. The central bank has been working with the commercial banks to ensure that people who are affected from the COVID-19 pandemic are able to get moratoria with their bankers so that they could get some leeway to take them through these challenging times. Talk to your bank. Explore what is available to you in terms of being able to have a moratorium so that you could not default to your bank, but have an arrangement that you would either to lengthen the period, reduce the payments so that you could remain current with your bankers and not get into a situation where you're defaulting. That's the worst thing you could ever do, is to default. And in conclusion, I hope I've stayed within the 15 minutes, that good money management practices do provide a shelter from the storm. So again, we go through. It's important that you budget carefully, you stick to your budget, you ensure that everybody in the household is on board with the budget, and so that you could live within your means. Secondly, save first, pay yourself first. Make sure that you are able to build that cushion using the 10 or 15% of your salary, whatever that might be. Second, once you've gotten to that cushion, you start investing, you start to take the higher order, and so that you could create wealth now for your family, and be conservative and judicious with your debt. And of course, spend wisely. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Blake. That was a very informative session, and I took my notes seriously. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss a beat, and I know that all of the persons on the webinar as well probably would have been doing the same. And so we are going to, of course, hear from all of our other presenters throughout this afternoon, but I just want to quickly recap that it is very important that you save for yourself first. And that is something that I don't think many people do. And that I hope that it has resonated with all of the viewers this afternoon, and we will explore, as I said, further as we go along. We are going to take a short break, and when we return, we will have our next presenter.
The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank is proud to introduce Dcash, the official digital version of the EC dollar. Dcash is the safer, faster, cheaper way to send and receive payments within the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, all using your smart device. For more information, visit the ECCB's website. Dcash, coming soon. The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank is proud to introduce Dcash, the official digital version of the EC dollar. Dcash is the safer, faster, cheaper way to send and receive payments within the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, all using your smart device. For more information, visit the ECCB's website. Dcash, coming soon.
Welcome back to the 2020 Financial Information Month Online Business Symposium. And we would have heard from our first presenter, Mr. Trevor Blake of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange. We will now hear from our second presenter as we continue talking about building resilience in a COVID-19 environment. Our second presenter is Mr. Rodney Brown. And Mr. Brown has over 20 years of experience in the digital and web media industries. He was first hired in 1997 by a Caribbean software development company, where he became the lead designer in the game development department. There, he was able to learn industry-leading applications such as Photoshop, 3D Studio Max, and Lightwave 3D, which were used to develop 3D games and animations. By 1999, he was also designing websites and web graphics, and shortly after, garnered experience with developing custom website applications. Rodney created a number of groundbreaking web applications between 1999 and 2005, namely Caribbean Greetings, the comprehensive online greeting card service for the Caribbean, Caribbean Buffet, a restaurant and events directory, and Caribbean Massive, a social media website with many features, similar to today's social media giants such as Facebook and Instagram, all custom developed by Mr. Brown over many late nights and long weekends. Rodney later joined a marketing agency, Brisbane Productions and Moonflies.com, where he provided creative direction and production in video and print ads. He's currently the managing director of eCaribbean Limited and one of the largest web firms one of the largest web firms in the Eastern Caribbean, having overseen the production of 200 projects, and has been the managing and creative director since its inception in 2005. Rodney is passionate about entrepreneurship, innovation, education, and the arts, and has contributed his time and resources towards the advancement of these areas nationally and regionally. Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a pleasure for me to welcome Mr. Rodney Brown, owner of eCaribbean, and he will speak on embracing the internet as a tool for everyday living.
Well, thank you very much for that introduction. Sounds pretty good. Yes, so as indicated, I'm going to be presenting on using the internet as a tool in the new normal. You hear the term the new normal all the time, and we all have different experiences in terms of how we are addressing the challenges due to COVID. So I'm going to speak a little bit about using the internet from a user standpoint as well as from a business standpoint in terms of the opportunities, things, best practices, the tools, the measures that we should consider while using the internet and engaging online. So first off, I'll be discussing just to give you a snapshot of what the internet entails, essentially. I know a part of the new normal is us getting more tuned to numbers on a regular basis. We're all checking daily updates as relates, unfortunately, to challenges relating to the COVID-19 pandemic. So I figured I'd start this initial slide with a few figures as well as relates to the internet. The internet currently has over 4 billion people online. It's actually closer to 5 billion, but we're going to be a little bit conservative here and say 4 billion, over 4 billion. What does this mean for the ECCU? Well, we're a few 100,000, but the minute you open up your device, whether it is your laptop, your phone, you have over 4 billion neighbors to connect with. You determine how you want to, or how best you wish to connect with them and utilize that major network, that resource of over 4 billion individuals online. They're currently, the trend right now is over 300 billion emails being sent daily. And there was talk just a few years ago when social media was taking off and instant messaging and everything else was taking off. That email, some people were running around proclaiming that email was dead or email would be dead in a few years. But contrary to that belief, email has been increasing in terms of usage on a daily basis. Over 300 billion emails sent daily. Granted, a lot of that is spam, unfortunately, but still it's a huge number in terms of activity on the network, the internet. And then you have over 200 million websites, active websites. In truth, there is over 1.5 billion web addresses, whereby if you type in whatever, you go to, let's say www.mywebadress.com, it may not have anything on there, so it's not actually a website, it's just a web address. Until it actually has content, meaningful content, and it's updated on a regular basis, we won't add it to the active count. So there are currently over 200 million active websites online. Again, what does that mean for us? It means that in terms of resources, we have options. Now, the paradox is that even with so many options available to us on a regular basis, most of us, many of us, maybe all of us, we only interact with very few websites on a regular basis, maybe 0.00001% of the potential to interact with. So that is something to consider when you're online, that there are resources out there, things that may speak to your current need, your current interest. It may just be a click away. And as we mentioned, challenges and the new normal, one of the things that has been heightened during the pandemic is the fact that there's a lot of stress building with individuals, with families, due to uncertainty, due to not being sure about your status as it relates to a job. As a result of all the added stress, there may even be cases of depression, etc. So we can use the internet in some regards to assist us with being an outlet for us. Whether it is you want to have a creative outlet, you want to create something, share it online, get some feedback, or learn a new trade or activity, you can do that online, as well as from the important measure of sharing your challenges. Maybe you don't wish to speak to family and friends because you feel it's too personal, you feel that it is, you don't want to share your fears with them. So you feel better and more comfortable opening up to a stranger. That is not unusual. There are various support groups online. You can find one that fits your current challenge that you would want to have addressed, even if it's just, like I said, to hear what it is that you're going through. You can use the internet. You have over 4 billion neighbors. Surely there are a few in that mix who are sharing the same challenges and who may have some solutions, or just an ear for you. So consider that. If you can't or you're not prepared to share with your persons in the physical, consider the virtual as an option. The internet is forever. And what does forever mean? The internet, essentially, when you conduct activity online, it's being stored somewhere in order for you to access it. If it's not being stored anywhere, then generally you can't access it. So with the storage part of it, even if it is that wherever, so you put a photo online and you delete it, it's possible it's also deleted on the server where it's stored, but you don't know, depending on the nature of the service, if persons have access, if anyone has access to the photo or the information, they can copy it. So you may think you've deleted and everything is all well and good, not realizing that 100 persons already did a photo snap or right-click download your photo onto their own device. So it's something. I have 2 daughters, two children, and I try to remind them all the time that the internet is forward. It's an advantage for you that you're young and you have these opportunities growing up in the internet age, the digital age. But it's also a disadvantage when you don't manage it effectively, because from a young age you can have your history essentially immortalized, for better or worse, online. And the internet is actually more than a tool. It is the ultimate facilitator, because it allows businesses and individuals to create and then share and connect with other people. So it is a major facilitator in that regard. And because of all of that activity, and we see that the daily use of internet has been increasing, especially with the challenges, again, with lockdowns and shift systems, etc., working from home or working remotely, we're spending more and more time online. Our children are online, doing online learning in most cases, or hybrid. So there are more opportunities on the negative standpoint, from the negative standpoint, in terms of you being affected in a negative way. So it's important to practice safe measures while you're online. And being safe online, just to be clear, is not wearing a mask while you're online. That's not being safe. So don't take the picture too literal. And what I'm speaking about is, consider, and I'm going to use an analogy to try not to be too technical. You're on your property, you're at home. The network essentially is the boundary around your yard. So that's the first point of contact. So you want to ensure that your network, your Wi-Fi, your connection, I can tell you ECCB has it down lock. I had to try 10 times to connect to the Wi-Fi, even with the password. So it's stuff like that you want, where you don't have, it's not easy for persons, even if you're giving it to them, it's not an easy step-in process for you to access the network. You want to, again, using the analogy, on the personal side of things, every single door window is an access point into your house. So every single device you have, that's an access point onto your network. So you want to take some personal action on that regard and get some antivirus. There's some antivirus software and services that are free, and there are others that are very, very affordable, in the region of, say, 20, 30, 40 US per year, or one-time fee in some cases, 100 EC, or less in most cases. But like I said, there are lots of free options. But when it comes to security, personally, I'm not too comfortable with free. I prefer to have a little skin in the game just to be sure I'm getting what I'm paying for at the very least. Backups, that's very important. Dropbox and Google Drive, etc. Those are not backup options. They're storage and sharing facilities. So if you're constantly using Dropbox, I mean, I use Dropbox all the time, Google Drive, etc. Don't get confused in thinking that your data is being backed up. The backup is essentially taking a snapshot of your files, your data, at a specific time interval, and having copies, and you determine how many copies you want to have spread out. So if, for whatever reason, you discover that your system or your device or whatever the case may be might have been hacked, or some file is corrupted or whatever the case may be, you may be able to restore from backup from a week ago, depending on the service you're using or the method you're going about in backing up. Strong passwords, as I mentioned earlier, I had some difficulty connecting because the password was pretty creative. That is a good standard you want to have and practice. You don't want to have welcome123 as your password. You know, most of the attacks online, a big measure of them are through weak passwords. And when I say weak passwords, I mean like really weak passwords. So don't take your password for granted in terms of setting a password, whether it is for your email account, for to access your device, whatever it is. Once a password is required, try to put a little effort into not making it too easy to guess. So password ties into effective practices where you want to develop a habit of being vigilant with your access. How you go about accessing what you need. You don't want to obviously make it too easy for persons to get to your system. So you try to, as much as possible, have effective measures in place. Children access. Again, our children are accessing, sometimes some children have more than one device. They may have a phone and they have a tablet. Some may have even 3 phone, tablet, laptop. All those are connection points. It's great convenience, but it's important to have them locked down. Antivirus would assist with that. Most of the antivirus services now allow for some option of you having a cutoff point for when your children are accessing the internet. So if you say no internet on these devices after 7:30 p.m., they will just be blocked once they're at home accessing the Wi-Fi. Or you have the Wi-Fi system and the antivirus. Some of them, they have add-on service where you can then restrict websites based on the type of websites from being accessed on certain devices. So there are options out there that are not too complex. If it is, I would recommend, most of you will have had someone come and set up your Wi-Fi, set up your network. You consult with these persons, ask them what are the best security measures you can put in place, the measures that are affordable and effective. And some of them you can research, and they're not hard to set up, like the antivirus. You find the ones that there's Avast, there's Kaspersky, there are a whole bunch of them. Just do some research, best antivirus 2020. Run some comparisons and pick out the top 2 or 3 that meet your budget, and pick one. You install, double-click, select the defaults, and that's pretty much it. Run your initial scan. It doesn't take long. It's not complicated at all, really. And of course, with any challenging period or endeavor, there's almost always opportunities to consider. And this now is more from the business standpoint of things. Businesses should better understand, what challenges, be able to empathize with their clientele, and, putting themselves in their shoes, trying to figure out how can I better serve my clients? What options can I afford them that would make it easier for them to conduct business with me? Is technology a potential partner in this? So I'm going to just highlight a few of the tools and measures that can be considered and should be considered. I'm not suggesting that businesses would or should have to have all of these measures, but you should have the majority of them, in my opinion. E-commerce is a major thing, and Chad is going to speak to some degree on that. In terms of, as an example, I went to a gas station here in St. Kitts a few months back, put in some gas in the car. Was about to pay, pull out my debit card. The attendant told me, we don't accept cards here. It's cash or check. I was like, this is 2020? So as a result of that, I haven't been back to that gas station since. So, and I know a friend of mine who told me, we just happen to have been speaking of, I don't know, guys, how we end up speaking about gas and cars or whatever the case may be. But he had told me he had the same experience, and as a result, he stopped going to that gas station. So that is just one business where, for whatever reason, their policy is not accepting credit cards. But you're removing an option for your customer, which is never a good thing. So e-commerce is essential, and e-commerce is more on the electronic side in terms of you having a web presence, allowing persons from the comfort of their home or a remote location to transact business with you. So that is one of the measures that businesses, if you're serious about business, even before COVID, and even more so now after what you've seen, the impact of how we've had to address COVID, if you don't have an e-commerce plan, you're not really thinking seriously. There are businesses, I've dealt with businesses over the past 12 months where some are at different stages. Some had started before, they got their e-commerce options in place, 2019 maybe. Of course, not foreseeing what 2020 had in store, but just figuring this is where things were trending. And then some, as a result of the COVID challenge, have sought out e-commerce options and have implemented them. And there's still others who, even with seeing and understanding that e-commerce and that type of option is important, are still kind of on the fence in terms of, I'm not sure if I should jump in now. But I can tell you one way or the other, every single business, if you're serious, you would have to consider e-commerce as one of the viable tools to implement. Interactive website, that is always a key measure as well, because you want to, and when I say interactive, I don't mean dancing graphics and all that type of stuff. If it works for your target market, maybe you're an event and you have a website for your event, then sure, but when I say interactive, I mean being better structured to engage with your customers. So one of the expectations a lot of customers have now, when they visit a website, they want to see like a chat bot or a chat service where somebody can engage them within certain hours if the resources are limited. And outside of the hours, you can have an AI-empowered, artificial intelligence-empowered or powered bot that has question and answers already structured within it. And so you ask a typical question to the bot, and the bot responds. And of course, the company will have that information they could review at a later stage and address and get in touch with their customer. So interactive in terms of being more ready, prepared, because you may have to slash your hours of operation due to COVID. So how else can you ensure that your customers can get in touch with you? How can you address their needs effectively? Accessible resources outside of the bot, standard measures, having a frequently asked questions, or the publications on your website or somewhere online where if persons have typical questions, cases, you can refer to them easily. A few clicks, they can review, see what they need, and if they need to follow up with you, then they get in touch with you. Active social media is also, I'm not a big social media fan, to be quite honest, but it's not a personal thing. It's business. If it is that your customers are engaging online in social media, then you have to be there, and you have to be active and engaging with them somehow. Online forms, a lot of times, depending on the type of business, you may have forms for that you wish for your customers to fill out. A lot of times you may have a big no-no now is just to have a PDF. At the very least, if you have a PDF, convert it to a fillable PDF so that persons don't have to download, print it, fill it out with their hand, either scan it. I'm already getting tired of the measures I'm explaining. So just think about all the steps. The customer, again, empathize with the customer's experience. Understanding all the steps they have to go through. Is it something you would wish on yourself? No? Then figure out a different way and measure in serving your customers more effectively. So online forms would be the next step beyond the fillable form, the fillable PDF, where instead of them even having to download the PDF and fill it in, they fill it in right there on your site and submit it. They get a notification that it was sent. You get a notification that the form has been filled out, depending on the structure of the form system. Maybe you get the form content in your email, or you go to your website, you log in, and you see the form content. So those are some of the solutions and tools, measures that businesses can consider. Of course, there are lots more, but I figured I'll just give a brief list for us to digest at this time. Innovation. With any challenging time, there's always an opportunity to innovate, observe how things are being done, and figure out easier, potentially better ways by which some services can maybe be structured and offered. I'm always, as I was mentioned in the bio, I'm very passionate about innovation. I'm always trying to figure out, I have a million ideas. It's always just to pick which one I can really realistically get done. So I was approached during the COVID time, in around April, May, by another individual and asked to partner on an idea he had, which is called Easy Rates. And this is a shameless plug. I'm involved in this. I'm actually the developer for this, and it will be launched later in the year. But what Easy Rates is, essentially, it'll afford the user, that is any citizen within the ECCU, the opportunity to log on, view rates from different financial institutions, and compare rates. So you don't have to go calling around, you don't have to go physically visiting. You could stay the comfort, even on your device, look, I don't want to get a mortgage. Who has the best rates currently? You log on, you see the rates. All securely done. But even beyond that is we're adding as well the feature where you can initiate a loan request via Easy Rates. And what that means is that it's just answering a few usually asked questions that would allow banks to review, because the way the process will work is you go on, and in less than 5 minutes, once you've logged in and you're at your dashboard, realistically it's more like 3 minutes, but less than 5 minutes, you answer 9 to 10 questions, you submit, I want the mortgage for this amount, XYZ, my monthly expenses, monthly income, whatever the case may be, you click, submit. The banks within the location, so if it is I'm submitting from St. Lucia, the banks in St. Lucia that are participating in the program, they will get a notification that, hey, there is a mortgage request for $400,000. Is this something you're interested in? They will log into the system, review the information, and then determine if they want to. If they're not interested, then just don't engage. If they're interested, then they engage with the customer. The beauty of it for the customer, because what we realize is that in our experience, going for a loan and sitting down in the process and sharing all the information, and that is not the most pleasant experience for any of us. None of us like to really go through that process. So with this system, the banks don't know who is asking for what until they're satisfied with what they're saying and they pre-approve pending further review and meetings and whatever the case may be. But at the very least, it allows for a system where it's filtered. The bank's time is not wasted in having a lot of applicants come in that don't fit the bill. The banks are the one who determine, well, I've seen your initial submission. I think this is something that fits our criteria. Let's engage. And if during the engagement they decide, okay, we can pre-approve you, and we just need to follow up and do our credit checks, et cetera. And once those pan out, we can sign off on the loan. So this is something I'm very, very, very excited about it being launched. We're actually in the advanced stages and hope to release it by early December. So that is Easy Rates, and so you'll be hearing more about that in the future. So in wrapping, ending with the toolbox, what are the customer expectations in the new normal when dealing with businesses? Options, options, and options. If you're not thinking as a business, how can I present my customers with the right options or as many relevant options as possible, then you're going against the grain at this point. We know that is eCaribbean. When we send out an invoice, I mean, this is a critical part of our business, which is getting paid. We present 5 options for our customers to pay us. You can either write a check, send it to the office, So that's drop off at the office. You can do a direct deposit. We give you our account number. You can pay online. We have an online payment feature. And you can write the check, ask us to come to the office to pick it up if you prefer that option. Or you mail the check to our PO box. So there are various options. So whatever it is that works best for you, we allow you to select the one that is the best match. So the continuing measures, as it relates to our usage and our interaction online, better time management, be more accurately informed, because it's very important for us to understand, our sources of news and information, especially as it relates to COVID-19 measures and updates. So be more accurately informed if you're going to be online a lot. Practice device discipline. Yes, the internet is very useful, but it is not everything, and it should not consume you in terms of you being on your device 24/7. So practice device discipline. It's healthier in any case. And let technology aid and not ail. So if your online experience more and more leaves you deflated, leaves you feeling depressed, then that's a clear signal that you need to reassess what it is you're consuming, what it is you're interacting with, and try to maybe scale back or try different avenues, as the case may be. So those are some of my advice in terms of interacting online. So that is it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. Rodney, that was an amazing presentation. I don't know, there was so much useful information, but when you gave the example of the gas station, I had that same experience, and I was like, I can't do this. I need to be able to have swipe my card. Why are we not taking cards in this time? So very sound advice, as I said, and pertinent information. And if our exposure to the digital tools causes us to be ailed, if it's consuming us, I think that wrap-up point was very important, that we should learn to not make it an appendage. It's not a part of our bodies, and so we have to disconnect at some point in order for us to really be able to meaningfully engage and use these tools long term. And so we are going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Hey, it's Financial Information Month, and there is something you need to do. Go to the Google Play Store and download the Smart Finance app. Yes, it's the Smart Finance app. Just type Smart Finance app in the search area, but make sure to type the $ for the S in Smart, and you will find it. It's a bright yellow and green bulb with a $ in the center. This app is useful and provides lots of information about savings, budgeting, investing, and other financial matters. So be smart and download the Smart Finance app today. Hey, it's Financial Information Month, and there is something you need to do. Go to the Google Play Store and download the Smart Finance app. Yes, it's the Smart Finance app. Just type Smart Finance app in the search area, but make sure to type the $ for the S in Smart, and you will find it. It's a bright yellow and green bulb with a $ in the center. This app is useful and provides lots of information about savings, budgeting, investing, and other financial matters. So be smart and download the Smart Finance app today.
And welcome back to the 2020 Financial Information Month Online Business Symposium. We've been having some very informative discussions and presentations thus far, and we are going to continue as the Financial Information Month theme and thrust towards building resilience in a COVID-19 environment is further explored. And our next presenter will be Mr. Chad Allen. And Chad will be presenting on the topic, It's Happening Online, Save Time, Save Money, and Stay Safe. As country manager of the RBC RBTT St. Kitts and Nevis since August 2015, Chad Allen is responsible for building marketplace recognition and strengthening RBC's competitive position by accelerating revenue growth through increased product penetration and market share. Chad currently leads a group of retail branches and sales and service teams in order to effectively achieve business performance goals by implementing strategies and coaching his team in order to develop capabilities focused on driving strong sales and service performance, high employee engagement, and a differentiated client experience. He champions the implementation of regional strategic initiatives in country and collaborates with functional partners to execute change, supporting employees through proactive communication and effective decision-making, reinforcing organizational values, objectives, strategies, and implementation plans. Born and raised on the island of Jamaica, Chad joined RBC in 2011 as the branch manager for RBC Mandeville branch and possesses 23 years of experience in banking, working his way up in his career, which commenced as a teller with the CIBC International Bank in 1997, where he spent 2 years, thereafter transitioning to the Bank of Nova Scotia and held various roles and positions over a 13-year period. With a strong sense of community commitment, Chad is a recent past president of the Rotary Club of Lyamiga in St. Kitts, focused on giving back to the community, both as the country manager for RBC in St. Kitts and Nevis, as well as in his capacity as past president of the Rotary Club. In the community, Chad communicates, represents, and leads by example to ensure RBC is known as the bank that cares about its staff and its clients, while building internal and external networks in order to contribute to the community through business associations, sponsorships, and charities. Chad also serves as the president of the Bankers and Financial Services Association for St. Kitts and Nevis, where he represents the banking community on matters relating to regulatory compliance while leading the advancement of local banking matters. Chad currently possesses a Chartered Banker MBA from the Bangor University and is a member of the Chartered Institute of Bankers in Scotland. He's married to Jean and they have 3 children. Delighted to call the Caribbean his home, Chad enjoys being involved in the community and traveling throughout the region. Viewers, we would like to welcome Mr. Chad Allen, and he will present on It's Happening Online. Save time, save money, and stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you. It's indeed a pleasure to be here today. And again, I want to express my thanks as well to the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank for extending this invitation to share with you on It's Happening Online. Today, my agenda will focus on 3 main areas: accessing online banking, features and benefits of online banking, and using online banking to improve business. I want us to speak about digital disruption and COVID-19. Digital disruption is defined as a change that occurs when new digital technologies and business models affect the value proposition of existing goods and services. So we'll start by looking with digital banking. You can manage your financial transactions by taking advantage of online services that give you control of your cash from home or anywhere in the world. If your business takes you on the go, then an online banking app helps you to stay connected from the palms of your hands. We can recall just recently how access to your finances became very important as member states throughout the Eastern Caribbean learned to adapt to COVID-19. There were many days of lockdown and clients who were digitally enabled had better access and convenience in managing their finances. So, it's very important that we keep an eye on the ball and knowing the signs of digital disruption emerging in your industry to ensure that you can stay ahead of the game while also go with the flow rather than against it. Now, change equal new, equal opportunity, equal risk. And I want us to speak a bit to this formula today. I'm taking you back to school. It's no secret that change is scary for many persons. There's a popular saying that you shouldn't expect different results if you continue doing the same thing. And this underscores the need to embrace new ways of doing business and also to benefit from the opportunities that it will present. Another quote from an unknown source: if you want something you've never had, then you got to do something you've never done. And risk is the price you pay for opportunity. For many individuals, the risk they face is the fear of the unknown, the fear of technology, the fear of asking for help, or the fear of hearsay. Creating a balance between risk and rewards will allow clients to evolve and financial institutions to remain relevant. Banks and financial institutions are no longer defined by the block and mortar structure, but rather by being able to meet their clients where they are digitally. So, what are some of the lessons we've learned from digital disruption? It's not a negative thing. It's an unstoppable force. To fight it is futile. Change is constant, thus growth and develop with it. So let's speak a little about accessing online banking. How does a client go about accessing online banking? It's made easy by downloading the appropriate app from your financial institution to your smart device. This usually occurs through Google Play, App Store, or with a browser. Many financial institutions have created video tutorials to guide clients in understanding the features and benefits and how to save time and money. So let's focus on some of the features of online/digital banking. Once you're set up online, you now have the ability to view your account balances and transactions, make payments to your credit card if you have one, move money from and between accounts, view and make contribution to your investment accounts, pay bills, send money to other local or international clients via wire transfer. You are able to view your statements electronically. You can print them and even the history. Manage your personal bill payee list. Trevor spoke earlier about budgeting. These are, again, tools to help you manage the situation. It provides information to simply help you find branches and ATMs. With online banking, you get frequent alerts and notification about your account. You have the ability to download, filter, and print transaction confirmations. And of course, you can even use aliases or nicknames to identify specific accounts. You also, as Rodney mentioned, it's important that we ensure security is in place, so you have the ability to put in strong change of passwords and update these as time goes by. What are some of the benefits associated with online banking? So one, it's a user-friendly experience and modernized design of any device. It's pretty user-friendly. You have the flexibility to use different types of mobile devices. It saves time, and we all know time is money. Efficient use of your time. It's convenient. You imagine being on the beach and being able to transact your business. It allows you to save templates from frequent type transactions, creating further ease and efficiency. And last but not least, you actually save on transaction costs when you do them online versus in person. Now, I wanted to speak a little bit more on using online banking to improve your business. You may be wondering, how can online banking help clients improve their business? I'll share a few digital solutions that have worked well for many of our clients. Now, electronic funds transfer, in short, EFT. This allows funds to be sent from the sender into the account of the receiver. The most common use of this service is for payroll. However, it can be used for other types of transactions. So in many instances, we have clients, for example, in the Eastern Caribbean. They may have employees in different member states. With electronic funds transfer, with payroll, you can have funds credited directly to their account, which makes it very easy. It eliminates the need for employees, vendors, or suppliers to pay them in cash or check, therefore minimizing the exposure and the risk. And of course, as we operate in a COVID-19 environment, the less personal interaction you have or physical interaction, it helps to protect you and also to eliminate exposures like robbery if you're traveling with a lot of cash. The next item I want to share on is the cash management system or cash management solution. This is commonly used by insurance companies, bill collectors, and organizations that have recurring receivables. It's very simple. It's an electronic transfer of a pre-authorized payment from the sender directly to the account of the service provider. The sender initiates the payment instructions to collect funds from the receiver, and the dollar amount can be the same each month or it can actually differ. So it does give quite a bit of flexibility. It's ideal for businesses or organizations who have recurring or periodic receivables. What are some of the benefits and features to direct credits or debits? It's very convenient. We spoke about that. It improves security, converts multiple transactions to one action, so simplicity. You reduce errors, frauds, risk, and costs. Efficiency, improve reconciliation adjustments, and it gives you better control. Another way businesses can benefit is through the use of merchant services. So Rodney mentioned earlier that there were missed opportunities for the service provider or the gas station in particular who did not have a merchant service. Now, as a merchant, you have access to the following to help you thrive your business. You have card acceptance, and this is from Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, Diners Club. It allows fast payment processing within 1 to 3 seconds. And there's a contact center that will ensure you receive prompt and accurate response from friendly, knowledgeable service staff and it's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, Sundays and public holidays. Simplified reconciliation using automated daily reporting and messaging. Now, there are several types of merchant services machines. You'll see when you go to some merchants, they have the handheld mobile device. You'll see some as well where they simply connect a device to the smartphone and you're able to swipe and also do your transaction. And then there's the traditional type that uses the landline and is pretty stationary. All of these are options to help you grow your business using online. The final area I'd like to share on today, which Rodney touched on earlier, is e-commerce. And e-commerce is simply the power to sell online. Now, why would you want to consider e-commerce? Let's kind of break this down and talk about it. It provides a cheap and efficient way to distribute a chain of products and services. It allows you to offer your products and services internationally, which might otherwise have been cost prohibitive. Your online store is open 24 hours, 7 days a week, without association or associated overhead costs. You now have the ability to offer a wide array of products and services online rather than through your traditional brick and mortar stores. There is a potential to reduce your overall administrative costs, and especially in a COVID-19 environment, we want to watch our costs very carefully because we want to keep as much of that within our pockets as possible. And of course, because you have such a wide reach, you're able to increase sales from customers who do not have the time or the ability to visit store locally. But to set up e-commerce, what do you need? What is required? It's very simple. You need a merchant account, and of course, you go to your preferred bank. A website that persons go to, and you would set that up. And there has to be a payment gateway, and there's Plug and Pay, which facilitates this. Now, I'll walk you real quickly through how this process works. The cardholder will visit online. They'll add the specific item that they've selected to their cart. They'll proceed to secure paying for the bill. They'll enter their credit card number or debit card number, their billing and shipping information. And of course, on the back end, this is verified and the necessary authorizations provided. So a lot of things actually happen behind the scenes very quickly. Now, multiple verifications are completed to check for missing information, data validity, how valid the data is, if it's a fraudulent use, things of this nature, and it provides an approval or decline or identify if it's fraud. And of course, the customer is directed to a response page where it tells you that yes, you're approved or declined, whatever the decision is. Your order is processed, and the merchant and the client receive confirmation. Very simple, very easy process. In conclusion, I have 3 primary requests. For clients who have not signed up for your online banking, what are you waiting for? For clients who have been using online banking, I'll encourage you to become more familiar with its features and benefits and explore them. Don't be fearful. Embrace online banking and embrace opportunities for your business to grow and evolve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chad. Once again, a very engaging presentation, important information shared during this session as well. And I know that all of our viewers and all the persons who are in the webinar meeting right now, once again, I know that you are on, you're not
Hey, it's Financial Information Month, and there is something you need to do. Go to the Google Play Store and download the Smart Finance app. Yes, it's the Smart Finance app. Just type Smart Finance app in the search area, but make sure to type the $ for the S in Smart, and you will find it. It's a bright yellow and green bulb with a $ in the center. This app is useful and provides lots of information about savings, budgeting, investing, and other financial matters. So be smart and download the Smart Finance app today. Hey, it's Financial Information Month, and there is something you need to do. Go to the Google Play Store and download the Smart Finance app. Yes, it's the Smart Finance app. Just type Smart Finance app in the search area, but make sure to type the $ for the S in Smart, and you will find it. It's a bright yellow and green bulb with a $ in the center. This app is useful and provides lots of information about savings, budgeting, investing, and other financial matters. So be smart and download the Smart Finance app today.
All right, we are back, and we will continue our interesting and engaging discussion as we focus on building resilience in a COVID-19 environment as part of Financial Information Month 2020. During this afternoon's proceedings, we've had presentations from some very learned gentlemen, and as the sole female and moderator on the discussion this afternoon, it is my pleasure to lead the discussion as we have the question and answer section. And so my first question goes to Trevor. And of course, Trevor presented a comprehensive view of what it means to prepare for the rainy days, living through your rainy days, how to manage money in challenging times. And the big question, Trevor, though, is the reality is that some persons over the years have not followed those very critical steps which were presented. They did not extract their savings prior to spending. They did not budget, and they didn't take a look at their debt in a way that they can approach it and be able to manage it throughout the process. And so as we came upon, and the COVID pandemic reached us here in the region in March of this year, some persons were really, they would say, barely making ends meet. Some would say I was living hand to mouth. And so what advice would we then be able to give to such persons who did not have any money saved? They of course, as I said, they were living paycheck to paycheck. And so they're now in a situation where it seems as though the debt is overcoming them because they did not prepare for rainy days. They're now in this position. What can they do, or how can they be able to navigate through until they get into a more sunny time?
Yeah, thank you, Zanella. What you could do now if you didn't have that cushion, if you hadn't made those savings when your income was strong, when your income was still, what it would be in normal times, you have to focus then on your expenditures. So look at your spending. What are you spending on? There's some things that you can't not spend on. The necessaries, the rents, the mortgage, the car payments, food you must eat. If there's life, you have to eat. But even in that, even in your shopping, you could make wiser choices. Perhaps you could look and see where I was maybe buying steak and say maybe I have to cut back on the ribeyes and maybe buy more tuna and corned beef or something like that. So you have to look at your income. Your expenditure. See what you could cut, where you could cut, what you could do better, what you could how you could take whatever you have and stretch it further. And we know that and especially women, they're good at this. They're good at going to different supermarkets to ensure they get the best deal. I think we all have to take a page out of that book and follow them. And by the way, I should say that is in no way a sexist statement. I'm just saying women are better economists than men. So we should learn from them. We should look at what they do, how they stretch the dollar, make it go further. Cut back on entertainment. Most of us go out on a Friday night and have a good time. See, maybe we could cut some of that out. Look at the eating out. Look at even if you're going to work and you're accustomed to having lunch in one of the restaurants in town, look at what you could prepare to bring with you to work, so you cut out the extra expenditures. So it's about reviewing your entire lifestyle. As the saying goes, cutting the cloth now, or cutting the suit to beat the cloth. How best you could manage with that. And of course, if you have debt, as I said before, have a talk with your friendly banker. See what you could do. Go down by Chad and see how he could help you to manage your debt. Maybe he could work out a consolidation loan with you, so to bring all the more expensive debt into one facility that could be more manageable. So if you have hire purchase by Horsons, by Coats, by TDC, maybe you could refinance all of that in one lower price loan that would make it more doable for you. So it's about taking care of your expenditure. And I think we all could perhaps cut back on some of the things that we do. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Trevor, for that. And we have a question from one of the participants in the webinar. And the question states, what advice can you provide if someone wants to get into the real estate market while servicing a mortgage of their own? So if someone wants to get into the real estate market and they're servicing their own mortgage, what advice would you give to that person? And I'll direct that, I guess, back to either Trevor or Chad.
Maybe Chad might do better at this one.
Yeah, so thanks for that question. And I'll repeat, what advice can you provide if someone wants to get into the real estate market while servicing a mortgage of your own? Now, Trevor spoke earlier about creating wealth. And real estate is one of the tools or the means that is used to build wealth. What's very important when making a decision like this is that you are able to afford. So, in meeting with your friendly banker, you'd want to assess, is this an affordable option for you? When you say going to real estate, is it from an investment standpoint where you're looking for rental income? Or is it that you're taking property and you want to hold for appreciation? Is it that you want to flip the real estate? I mean, there are many options available when you think about real estate and how you can operate. So having that discussion with your banker to see what the affordability is if you're thinking about a mortgage is going to be very critical, because mortgages tend to be long-term in nature. They're also dependent on the length of time you can get is dependent on your age. And you want to ensure that this is something from a long-term perspective that you're able to manage and afford to ensure that the investment works the way it should.
If I could add as well, just to support what Chad said, what you have to look at is the equity you've already developed in your current home. You have a mortgage, that means presumably you've been paying it for some time. And if you have developed a significant equity, then you could use the equity in that property to assist in qualifying for that new loan that you now want to get into your real estate business. So it's where you are at in your mortgage payment. So even if you are servicing a mortgage currently, depending on the equity you've built up, and importantly, the affordability of the servicing of the new debt. That's important. That's what Chad wants to see, that you could repay him when he lends you his money. So I look at the surplus income that you have to go towards this new venture, and the equity that you've already built up in the home that you're paying a mortgage for, and that might assist you in getting into the business investing.
All right, thank you so much, Chad, and thank you, Trevor, for your responses. And I know that the individual, if you have any further questions, feel free to continue to engage. But in the meantime, we will go over to Rodney. Rodney, we know that over the last few months, persons have become very innovative. With the job loss, have come opportunities for job creation as well. And so we have seen a thrust in the area of entrepreneurship. We've seen persons trying to be innovative, and I know that's one of the things that you love, being innovative and trying to ensure that they can pay their bills and meet whatever obligations they have at the end of the month. Some have pursued traditional business opportunities, and some have gone to totally online to be able to execute their various businesses. What advice, what would be the main piece of advice that you would give to anyone who is conducting or looking to conduct business online, especially if they view themselves as digital survivors, if they view themselves as persons who are struggling with the technology? What advice would you give to those individuals?
Thank you for the question. I believe the sound advice that has been circulating so far is about managing expenses. And the digital option affords us the flexibility of not necessarily, say, having to have, in terms of the traditional sense, a physical business location, determine on what it is you're offering, even if it's a product. I know of an entrepreneur who deals in the beauty line of things in terms of producing these type of products. And she conducts all of her sales through WhatsApp primarily, whereby she creates a WhatsApp story, and she has a lot of contacts because she's reached out over the months. She's developed her contact base, her contact address book. So persons know that when they check her stories from time to time, and this could be Instagram, this could be Facebook, whatever social media option. So you can use your phone, your cell phone. You have a new product in, you create a story, and you share it. Persons access it, they contact you, they say, hey, how can I get this? And she sells out every time. So she doesn't have a physical location. It's primarily digital. So you want to see how can you leverage your device. If you have a phone already, more likely you're using it for WhatsApp. You could settle with WhatsApp if you're most comfortable with that. If you are on Instagram, Facebook, whatever the case may be, whatever you are comfortable with currently, if you're a bit apprehensive about getting too far ahead of yourself online, you just use that to your best advantage. But important to keep costs low. You don't want to be paying rent at this time if you don't have to. Any other physical activities that may incur costs, you try to keep it as low and flexible as possible.
All right. And so we would have spoken at great length as it relates to online and the person's comfort with online banking and navigating those tools. And as we would have spoken about WhatsApp and the comfort at using WhatsApp, there are persons who during the lockdown were going to the bank whenever we had those open days. Even older, elderly persons were going to the bank because they were more comfortable with the physical space. And so in relation to that, the question to Chad is, for both businesses and individuals, what can banks do to increase the trust, the person's trust, and their efficacy in navigating the various online platforms?
Thank you for that question. I will agree with you that change for many persons is very difficult. And there is some fear factor that many persons have to overcome. For most banking institutions, there has been heavy investment in ensuring that online services are protected. I can easily think of when clients need to log on, in many institutions, they have like a two-factor authentication. And what this does, it ensures that the person who is going online is the person indeed who is supposed to do so to eliminate or to reduce the exposure of risk. Now, there are a lot of variables at play, and there's also a cultural shift that needs to take place. You did mention about the lockdown, and it was very evident clients who were digitally enabled and were able to manage their finances by virtue of the online services versus those who weren't. Whilst we appreciate that there is need for personal interaction, we also strive to achieve what we call a digitally enabled relationship bank. So it's a combination of both. You should be digitally enabled, that you have the ability, when you so choose, to access your finances. However, there are times when you need that personal touch and you come in. I'd encourage persons who have that fear to go in and speak to your banker. They're more than willing to assist, to provide you with the guidance and to demonstrate. And you'll be very surprised how easy it is. I've seen so many cases where persons who had a fear, and once they started to use the online banking and they started to reap the benefits of access and convenience, they wondered, why did I take so long to do this? And they've never switched back since. So have that discussion and try it out.
All right, thank you so much for that response, Chad. And you are correct. The aversion is there because lack of knowledge and lack of experience and lack of exposure often tends to create that angst, that anxiety that we see from time to time. And so we have a question from the webinar group, and the question reads, why is it that some vendors do not allow you to swipe your card for goods or services below $20? I repeat, why is it that some vendors do not allow you to swipe your card for goods and services below $20? Very good question, and I'm thinking that, Chad, that's you again.
Yes, that's a very good question. And, you know, from time to time, we at the bank, we've seen situations where some vendors have set limits as to a minimum amount. And I believe their rationale or reason is, you know, to provide the service of a point of sale or for them to access a point of sale service, the vendor has to pay a particular cost. There's a percentage that is paid on each transaction. And transactions below a particular amount may not, in their view, work out to be financially beneficial. And as a result, they've set a minimum amount. The bank does not set that amount. However, institutions may choose to implement this. So, you know, that's what's happening in this particular case.
All right, thank you so much for that and for that clarification. So once again, the bank doesn't necessarily set the amount, but the amount comes as a part of the business's discretion. I think in the attempt to save money and to ensure that they're not operating at a loss, they have to also put measures in place at the local business level. And so the next question we are going to pose to Rodney. And Rodney, many entities have made adjustments to allow for meetings and interactions online. And that would include, we know that companies, even Microsoft has said that their employees can remain at home and continue to work from home. And we've seen that even here at ECCB, that persons are working from home. And so the question is, internationally we see Google, Microsoft, and some of those other companies have expanded their services several times since the COVID pandemic. And every week or so, you're seeing changes, improvements based on the needs of the clients. What opportunities are there for regional businesses to provide similar services, and do you think that they will be supported? So what opportunities are there? We're looking at Microsoft Teams and Google Meet and Hangout and Skype. What opportunities are there for local companies and regional companies to create similar entities and services, and do you think that they will be supported?
It's a very, very important question. It's actually a loaded question without it being loaded. In the sense that I firmly believe that the Caribbean has great potential and capacity for developing applications. We have the resource in terms of the people in region as well as within the diaspora as our first option for finding solutions. So without a doubt, I would say that if not to the level in execution, it would be primarily due to investment rather than capability and ability. I think one of the challenges we have in the region, which is a very major pet peeve of mine, is that the meat of the matter of us advancing is investment and support. So we have the meat, but we're content with sprinkling salt and pepper on it every other day. We don't seem to want to cook the meat. We just want to season the meat. So we have a lot of professional seasoners in the region. You have the most elaborate recipes, great looking, this is how the meat is going to taste, promotions, but in terms of actually cooking the meat, so people could actually indulge and taste it, that is where we're falling down, in my opinion. We just recently had a competition, I think one of the ECCB alumni, Alex Strawn, with Jadcash, he placed third. So major congratulations to Alex. I know him personally. And we had other entities within the region who were presenting applications. So it's very encouraging to see that we have more of this stuff where we're trying to develop an ecosystem. It can only benefit us all, but it has been going on for quite a while. And I think we need the institutions that can and that are able to get on board with more tangible support for these type of endeavors. We need to get beyond the seasoning and actually start to cook.
All right, wonderful analogy, and I think very pertinent response. I endorse your response, actually. Sometimes we just have to go to the next level, and it's not, like you said, that anyone out there has more than we have to offer in the region. Sometimes it's just that little extra step that we have to take, especially as it relates to investment and getting ourselves out there. Sometimes we remain a bit smaller, and we don't tend to get out to where we can. And so in light of that and the COVID-19 pandemic, next question goes to Trevor. And this question is related to investments. So we spoke about some of the investment opportunities which are available in the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange. We know that there are many opportunities in stocks and other opportunities for investments out there. But persons are also wondering if it is wise to make such investments during this time? Is it something that should be encouraged? Should you invest, especially in stocks where the value has dropped? Should those investments be made?
You know, there is a saying that you should buy low and sell high. So where stock prices have fallen, although I don't think there's been any sort of significant fall off in the values on the ECSE to date. But if where stock prices have fallen and the fundamentals of the company remain sound, when I say that, if the price has fallen just for some reason that doesn't stem from the soundness of the company, the intrinsic value of the company, I think that is the time when you really want to buy. That is where you would see the capital gains, because over time those values will come back, and then you would be able to. You would have gotten a good value for a low price, creating opportunities for you to sell the stock when the prices come back to the real level, or to just hold it and benefit from the dividends over time. So essentially, when you're looking at investing, what you want to try to do is to buy when the prices are depressed, so that you gain the values as the prices come back. But we do have a range of securities, as I said, on the ECSE, and to date, there's been no fall off that one could attribute directly to the COVID pandemic. Of course, there's going to be fluctuation in share prices, but there's not been any significant fall off. But if there were, what I would suggest to you is to look for those opportunities where you could buy the stock when it's low. The lower price stock provides more benefit for you to earn over time. And I should add, it is never too late to start investing, and there's never a wrong time to invest. Anytime there's a value to be had, you should try to get in and go for it. So if you see stock prices falling, look at it. Discuss with your broker-dealer again. Look at the company. Look at the fundamentals of the company. And provided those remain sound, buy when the price is falling.
All right. Thank you so much, Trevor. And so there's never a bad time to invest. Be wise. Make sure that you look at your personal funds, and then you invest, and you see that your returns will come out as time goes by. So I think that's really sound advice, and we will then, of course, bring Chad onto the conversation, because we're going to talk a bit about the future of banking. We know that there are so many tools currently being used, but we know that there are also opportunities for the use of other tools we see happening regionally, internationally. What, for you, what would banking, in your mind, look like in the next 5 years, considering all the transitions that we've gone through recently? What would banking look like in the next 5 years, at least in your mind?
Thank you. Definitely another loaded question. Whilst I have no crystal ball, you can have a sense of what's happening now and the direction in which it's going. And, as I had mentioned earlier, the successful bank is going to be the bank that is able to merge digital relationships with physical or face-to-face interaction. As I mentioned in my presentation, what used to be considered a successful bank would have been the bank that has the tallest structure and the fancy offices. That's no longer the truth. It's really not the brick and mortar structure that defines what banks will look like, but how they're able to engage their client and provide products and services that are relevant, that are agile, that are nimble, that are current, based on the client's lifestyle and their needs. What I see is, if I should go 5 years from now, I see online banking and digital services being a part of one's everyday use in being able to access services at the bank. I see over time that a lot of transactions that are done over the counter will be limited to digital access. So again, we encourage persons to embrace, to evolve, and to go with the flow as opposed to go against it, while still recognizing that you're protected and ensuring that you're making the relevant steps. So that's my view in terms of what's coming. We're there. If we take a look at countries in the first world, it's not very hard to see what's there. When we look at Canada, when we look at the USA, where these countries are in terms of their evolution and what they do, the types of products and services that's being offered. It's just really a matter of time before you see a lot of that in our space. As a matter of fact, you're seeing a lot of it, commencing right now. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Chad. I'm going to have one final question, and I'm going to pose that question to Rodney. And following that, we'll get a few minutes to just wrap up and give our closing comments. Rodney, as we look at the trajectory, we look at where the world is going, and obviously many of the online platforms and tools form a part of what business will look like, and even our personal lives will look like in the next few years. We see, for example, a lot of content creation coming out from even households and using online platforms to make money and to be able to subsidize their income in some instances. How can we, as a region, prepare our people for the reality that they will have to be able to function effectively online?
Thank you for the question. I believe some of the points I mentioned earlier in the presentation in terms of farmer essentially being able to better manage your exposure and interaction online. But in terms of content creation, I believe we need more of that firmly integrated into the school system. I'm talking about from primary school, because let's be real, children as young as 5-6 years old are quite comfortable using digital devices. And usually when you're young, not knocking us in here who are a little bit older than young, your creative juices are there. You don't have any idea about restraint and responsibility. So if given the opportunity, you would be as creative as you need to be. So I think it starts from us taking it seriously from a content creation standpoint, not as just seeing it as a hobby part of it. But there's so many opportunities as it relates to content. Simply, a guy setting up, I remember going through a village and seeing a guy creating one of those coal, I forget what it's called, but essentially making coal, but building the whole hut and everything else. That is unique content that somebody can create. They organize, they go and do a little mini documentary or something like that. You're checking with the IP office, so intellectual property as well should be taught as early as possible in the school if we're dealing with content. That is a core component, protecting your property, and then figuring out ways to monetize it. But from a user standpoint, understanding your exposure, limiting and managing your exposure. If you're looking to create, then as a community, we should be encouraging that as early as possible and as responsibly as possible. But let us try to create more of our content. Someone would eventually, I think years ago, there was a platform for Caribbean content to be placed on. I'm not sure if it's still around, but there's opportunity for new persons to come on stream and create a platform where persons can share Caribbean-centric content, and then we figure out the rest after that.
All right, thank you so much for that, Rodney, and you're very correct, and I think you will be comforted. I think I can't let the schools should statement go unanswered, since that kind of points to me. But we are federally going through a process of enhancing our curriculum and ensuring that those things that you would have highlighted are integrated, and creating the ideal citizen through the things that, and elements and components that we are looking for, persons who should be 21st century ready. And so we are addressing that through that, and we'll get you more information if you want to offline. We can talk about that. Viewers and all persons are participating in this session, we cannot, of course, leave without engaging you in a quick survey discussion. And so we will do a quick Mentimeter discussion at this point.
The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank is proud to introduce Dcash, the official digital version of the EC dollar. Dcash is the safer, faster, cheaper way to send and receive payments within the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, all using your smart device. For more information, visit the ECCB's website. Dcash, coming soon. The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank is proud to introduce Dcash, the official digital version of the EC dollar,
and give you an opportunity to join in from home. Okay, so, you have to go onto www.menti.com, and as you can see on your screen, you use the code provided and respond to the prompts and the questions provided as well. www.menti.com and enter the code provided. And so we have persons interacting well. The first question, has the COVID pandemic affected you financially? And so we are having some responses coming in. The code 8816869. 8816869. And thank you to all of you who have been engaging well. I'm so glad that we're integrating technology and we're keeping you engaged. Well, we're integrating additional technology since we're using this platform as well. And we're doing quite well engaging with Menti.com, and we're seeing that so far of the 9 persons who have interacted, 7 are saying yes, they have been affected financially, and 2 are saying no, they have not been affected financially. All right, we can take a look at the next question. And question 2, we have, if you have been financially affected by the pandemic, which of these measures have you used or plan to use? If you have been affected by the pandemic, which of these measures have you used or plan to use? Okay, we're doing really well, responding, doing an awesome job. Okay, and so of course we all know that there are several measures which we can use. We can propose and use our budgeting, especially the information that we got this evening. We can spend wisely. We can ensure that we're spending wisely. And I must say, if you were unsure, you were on the fence at any point, the comprehensive presentations this afternoon should have helped to guide your responses and reshape your thoughts. It definitely has done that for me. I have reshaped my thoughts in many elements and areas, and I've taken good notes. And I don't intend to just leave it as notes, but I intend to put it into practice. And we're hoping that all of you out there participating, listening, viewing are able to do the same going forward. All right, let's go with the next question. Do you use the internet to conduct financial transactions? Yes or no? This one is easy. And you're doing an awesome job keeping up with us. You're not even going ahead. Do you use the internet to conduct financial transactions? Okay, so we have one person that I know that we were able, Rodney, we were able to convince. We were able to convince Chad. Two, we have some people definitely after tonight, after this evening, please make sure that you start interacting with some of these platforms using the internet, using online banking to be able to pay your bills, to be able to conduct your other transactions, transfer for cash in some areas. You can even, in some institutions, you can transfer to someone's account. If you owe somebody some money, you borrowed it and you needed to give them back, you transfer, go online, it takes a couple seconds. Sometimes you go to the supermarket, you're not too sure if you have enough money on your account, log in quickly before you buy too many things. I think that our panelists will be proud of me giving that example because we have to be wise in everything that we do. And so we have 15 people using, 2 persons, and so next time when we come back with that survey, we are expecting to see all 17 of us definitely using internet as part to use our financial transactions. All right, we're doing very well. Oh, next question. For which activity do you use the internet most? For which activity do you use the internet most? And I know lots of us use it for social media purposes, but for which activity listed do we use the internet most? All right, as per usual, I'm so proud of this team of persons on this webinar. You are awesome, you're amazing, and you're demonstrating your online capabilities and your ability to interact and respond quickly, so you're doing very well. For which of these activities do you use the internet most? All right, so we're going to go to the next question because I know that we are enjoying the experience and we want to go on to the next one. What is your main concern about conducting financial transactions on the internet? What is your main concern about conducting financial transactions on the internet? I don't think that my transaction will be secure. And that, of course, is a concern that we've heard from time to time. The platforms are not user-friendly. Are you having any challenges? And that is why you're not, are you having challenges and that is why you're not using the online platforms for financial transactions? I prefer to speak to someone in person. I feel intimidated by technology. All right, so these are some various reasons that we might hear from different persons. But what is your main concern as it relates to conducting financial transactions on the internet? Okay, and I know once again, following the presentation, some of our fears have been allayed. And once again, talk to your bankers, have these conversations, let them walk you through the process so that you can see that it will be much easier. All right, we're going to move on to the next question. Having participated in the symposium, do you think you will use the internet more for financial transactions? Having participated in the symposium, do you think that you will use the internet more for financial transactions? Yes or no? You're making my heart glad. You're doing a wonderful job. This is the last question, and I know that all the panelists, they're here smiling because we were able to share with you. And it wasn't a matter of convincing as much as it was a matter of empowering. I want you to know that this session was meant to empower, to develop, to provide you with accurate information so that you can make informed decisions going forward. And so we are pleased that there are, for the most part, that persons feel a bit more confident about the process and are willing to try, and that's all that we can really ask, for you to be willing to try. For those 2 persons who are still unsure, please note, once again, feel free to speak with and go and have a conversation face-to-face, just as you love it, with your bankers, and they should be able to guide you through the process and make it much easier for you. Thank you so much for participating in this survey, and we really appreciate your interaction. As we bring down the curtains on this year's Financial Information Month 2020 Online Business Symposium. It was a pleasure being here with all of you this evening and interacting with you. It was a pleasure interacting with you as well.
It's financial information.
We wish everyone out there a safe evening, and remember, you have many sources and resources that you can use to ensure that you are empowered financially and in every area of your life. Thank you so much. I am Zanella Claxton, and I served as your moderator this evening, and it was a pleasure to interact with Mr. Trevor Blake, Managing Director of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, Mr. Rodney Brown, owner of eCaribbean, and Mr. Chad Allen, our Country Manager for RBC St. Kitts and Nevis. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful evening.
It's Financial Information Month in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. Financial empowerment through education. If you don't know what that is, let me tell you all about it. Learn to spend wisely. Invest to grow your money. Business stability. Step up financially. Help the region's economy. Work to financial security. Prosperity for all of we. FIM is for you and me. FIM is for everybody. So tell your friends and your whole family. Financial empowerment through education. Build yourself and the entire vision. Learn to spend wisely. Invest to grow your money. Business stability. Step up financially. Financial Information Month. Financial empowerment through education. It's Financial Information Month in the Eastern